And we're going to continue, so we're going to item 4, which is public comment period. Adam, how many names do we have?
We have 5 names.
So we have 5 names. We're going to call each of the names one at a time. Each person has 3 minutes to speak.
Up to 3.
Up to 3 minutes. And Trisha, you have a timer. And when the timer dings, I'm gonna unfortunately interrupt and ask you to wrap up your last sentence or two, move on. And I will also remind everybody that during public comment, please do not mention the name of any individuals. That is a board rule. So with that in mind, Adam, please.
Okay. First up, we have Nicole Doria.
Hi. Me. If you're
Please come up, have a seat at the table, introduce yourself.
scared, I don't have trouble getting hints or other teachers, but I was really nervous about being here. But I'm here as an Ithaca City taxpayer, resident, parent of 3 kids that attend our schools, and a newly resigned teacher. I taught for 15 years in this district. It has been a true joy teaching, serving, advocating, and creating opportunities for hundreds of children in our community. I've been a fierce advocate for our neediest children. My dedication to bringing my best, embedding joy into learning, thinking critically, growing my skills, commitment to anti-racist, anti-marginalization work, advocating for students with non-traditional learning needs, teaching our struggling readers, building safe, loving learning spaces are all things I'm proud of. And I have taught many of your children. And I resigned this past August because not because I didn't want to teach anymore, or I didn't love teaching, or I was ready to resign, but because my heart couldn't do it, given the circumstances with the inequity of pay. Like, I literally couldn't do it. It was making me ill. In 2003 to 2004, I co-taught with a wonderful math teacher who had 4 years of teaching experience and was just working on his master's. At that time, I had been teaching for 14 years and had my master's in addition to other certifications. And I had just cracked $60,000 for the first time, 14 years. And I've been teaching for 19 in our community. And then I learned that year that my co-teacher, who was wonderful, was making just a few $1,000s less than me. Like, that's real. And I was devastated, like, to my core. And I thought, okay, our contract's up. Surely our district will make this right and embrace an equitable pay structure. Like, surely we preach equity. I teach it. I'm committed to it. Surely our district that preaches equity and a culture of love will make this right. Surely they care about me and my family and my well-being. And I was really, really devastated in June when the only offer that was brought to the table didn't address the inequities at all and was just a blanket raise. So that message sent to me was, I don't value you. Your level of expertise, I don't value. And I couldn't come to work in this place that I love. Like, I've sat with many of you to advocate for children, our children. I couldn't do it because it was like a stab in my heart. Let's see. And it was making me feel resentful and angry. And I didn't want to bring that to my job. I didn't want to bring it to our students. I didn't want to feel that way about the organization I worked for. And it was pretty heartbreaking for me to resign. Let's see. I wanted to also point out, as an Ithaca City School District teacher, I had 2 side hustles. And I was pretty much working all of the time when I wasn't actually in the building. And I just couldn't see that as being sustainable. And I also didn't feel a promise that there would be a change. I understand I'm out of time. Can I just finish a few sentences?
Please.
So I've come tonight to add my voice to the mix and plead with you to install a step and lane system for our teachers, for our teachers to be paid equitably. My children need high quality teachers, and you lost one because I left. Like, you lost one, and my kids need that. And our new teachers need teachers who can mentor them and teach them. I learned from some of the best in this district who have retired, and we're losing people. So I come to you as a resident and a taxpayer and a former highly invested teacher here to implore you to put a stop and lane system in place. That's the only way to make it equitable. So I wrote pages and I
Please
tried to.
submit it, Tricia, yeah, that's. You can give a copy to Tricia, we can add it to the record.
Okay, written all over the place, but sure. Can I email it to you?
You can email.
Okay, then you won't have this. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Liddy Allen.
I am happy to see that the district is still using the goals that were created in 2017. I think they're really strong and they're measurable. And so I have a question for the board that is related to goals. Do you all conduct a school board self-evaluation, and do you do that yearly? And if so, what process do you use? And also, what is your process you use for evaluating the person in the superintendent's position? And for both of these processes, I'm wondering, are there annual goals set as a part of this? And if so, what's your process for setting these goals? And if you do that, I'm just wondering if we could know what the goals are and how you're measuring them. Other districts in the area do publish the goals set by the board as well as their self-evaluations. I know that a personnel evaluation would not be published. And just wondering if you would consider doing that, if that's a process that you all do.
Okay, next up we have Elliot Person. I'm gonna stand if that's all right.
I would like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to speak. First off, I think it's important that we have these public receptions to representatives. My name is Elliot Purser. I'm a senior at Ithaca High School, and I've been a student at ICSD for 4 years. You're all probably familiar with the phrase teacher working conditions or student learning conditions. This phrase has been repeated time and time again by teachers and students, and it is true. I make no claim to represent my teachers, but the fact of the matter is that ICSD working conditions at ICSD have come to a crisis point. Ithaca has a famously low retention rate, and it is no secret why. Ithaca teachers are routinely paid less than those in surrounding districts, and right now, teachers are working without a contract. Our superintendent has his contract renewed despite having promised to resign for the last 4 years. On top of this, teachers in this district have poor working conditions. I've seen this myself. The facilities at the high school where I go to school are unpleasant and sometimes dangerous. Just the other day, I learned that my second period government class had asbestos in the floor tiles after, and this was only discovered after, a pipe burst caused the room to flood. The bathrooms that are used by students and teachers alike are unhygienic. Such basic amenities as working soap dispensers, working sinks, and paper towels are often lacking. Teachers at ICSD are not supported by their administrators. The relationship between teachers and administrators can best be described as that of a couple in the throes of a nasty divorce. I've heard firsthand from my teachers the grievances that they have with admin. For example, routinely administrators make announcements in the middle of class, disrupting class for everybody. Since I came to IHS in 2022, over 30% of my teachers have left. Of the teachers that I had in freshman year, less than half of them remain, less than half. I know the impact that each individual teacher can have on the lives of students because I have felt it. My teachers have served as my mentors, my inspirations. They have been people that I can trust and people that I can go to for advice. These relationships are critical for students. If this district wants its students to thrive, it needs to start with its teachers. And that starts with a fair contract. Thank you to the teachers, faculty, and staff at ICSD for all the hard work you do. Thank you for the board for hearing me.
Thank you.
Victor Gallo.
Good evening, I'm Victor. I spoke here 2 weeks ago. My wife's a teacher.
Last time you guys got me pretty mad, pretty emotional. I talked about how we're broke. I talked about how I think you guys are all doing a pretty bad job. And I still stand by all that. So I don't want to bump into one of you in Wegmans and y'all start talking about how I was so positive. But I do want to give some constructive feedback. I'm an attorney, or at least I will be. I'm waiting on the bar results. If you see me in 2 weeks happy, you'll know why. If you don't see me at all, you'll also know why. But I have 3 points that I want you to consider with respect to the step and lane. And I want to kind of approach it from your perspective, not from the perspective of a husband, of a teacher, but functionally 3 points that I don't think you're paying attention to enough. For starters, I'm reading your transcripts. I'm looking into the videos that are published. You talk about going back to your legal counsel, getting advice from your legal counsel. As an attorney, I appreciate that. I love it when my clients come to talk to me, but it is my job to clean up their messes, essentially. It is my job to follow their lead. Attorneys don't get to tell you what to do. Your legal counsel, whatever it is, whatever you're paying them or not paying them, it's their job to follow your lead, which means if they go back to their break rooms and cuss you out to their colleagues, that's their job. That's what they get paid for. I'm sure they're getting paid well for it. So make them do their jobs. Give these teachers promises and then make your attorneys figure out how to make that happen. I promise you, that's what we go to law school for. Second, you talk about leverage. And I understand that that's an important part of any collective bargaining contract agreement. I did a lot of labor law in law school. That was really my focus. You need to understand that you give up leverage when you don't give a step and lane to your teachers. When I go to my work every day, my contract that I keep in my desk has my raises in it for every year that I'm there. I get to make long-term financial decisions about how I'm going to be paying off my loans, when I can afford to buy a car, when I can afford to buy a home. I can do that because I know in 10 years, they don't give me a better contract. I'm stuck with the same old first-year lawyer contract. I will be able to afford X amount. The teachers here don't get that. When they don't have step and lane, they don't have long-term contractual stability. They don't have long-term decision-making, which means that they're more likely to fight you when contract times come around. Give them this basic provision that's in most teachers' contracts around the world, around the country, rather, that's universal, and they will fight you less every single time these contracts come up. You can get to the more important niche issues that are a little bit easier to resolve. And finally, I want to talk about incentives and retention. You guys need to understand you have a 30% approval rating on Glassdoor. I was just looking for a job. That was the first place I checked. Tesla has a higher rating. Respectfully, Mr. Superintendent, Elon Musk has a higher approval rating than you do, and I'm not even sure he's still working at Tesla. So the point here is that people are paying attention to these proceedings. They're paying attention to how you treat your teachers. They're paying attention to how many news articles are published about how long this district has gone without a contract. All of that's very difficult to quantify on a monetary basis, month by month. I get that, but you probably have already had people who wanted to apply for a job in this district and didn't because they looked online and saw that Ithaca does not take care of its teachers. So it would benefit you, it would reduce your headache if you just gave them step and lane. Thank you. Last signed up on our list is Meg Burke.
Um, I have, I have some, charts that might be helpful. That I'll. I'll get that. Um. This is homework. This one. I like to show my, so. Okay. All right, I'm Meg Burke, Northeast Librarian, and I'm here to present retention and hiring data I have found by collating cessation of employment data from 4 years of ICSD personnel reports. You can cross-check this data on board docs should you have any concerns about accuracy. This is your data. Through this data analysis, I have found and identified a few notable trends in teacher recruitment and retention. My first finding supports that we have a severe retention crisis in ICSD. Over the last 4 years, 53% of our teachers have resigned. 310 out of 586. The turnover rate for the 24-25 school year was 18%, which is significantly higher than state and national average. One could argue that the retention crisis is directly affecting students. When you examine turnover per building, we have an average rate of turnover that's 49%. But in 4 of the 5 schools currently identified by New York State as needing improvement, that average is much higher than 49%, with the highest rate being 88% in one of those schools. This shows that there is a clear correlation between higher turnover in schools and poor student outcomes, a compelling reason to solve the teacher retention crisis. So why are teachers leaving? Luckily, our personnel reports document why teachers leave the ICSD. Each personnel report provides a reason for every personnel shift, including reasons for resignation. Charted out over 4 years, the #1 reason teachers leave ICSD is for other employment at 33%. That is followed by retirement, personal reasons, 22, resignation, 9%, other various reasons at 11, and the least commonly cited reason is relocation at 2%, which wholly refutes the argument by some administrators that our high turnover is due to our transient community and shows that teachers are leaving primarily for other jobs by a long shot. Teachers would be leaving for other jobs by 38% rather than 33%, were it not for a sudden change in February of last year, where virtually the only reason you could now leave ICSD on a board report is resignation. I didn't know that resignation was a reason for resignation, but I'm also not an HR expert. So I'm not sure why that change was made, but if ICSD is really interested in understanding and combating the poor retention, it seems like HR would want to keep the only real documentation we have for why teachers leave that board reports used to have, and maybe consider conducting exit interviews rather than soliciting teachers and students for video ads, unlike other districts. Not only are we not retaining teachers, we're also not attracting them. I analyzed a year's worth of hiring on board reports and found that between 8/20/24 and 8/12/25, we hired 93 teachers out of 586. And of those 93 teachers, 58% were not certified on the date of hire. Hired under MOA or as long-term subs, we hire more uncertified teachers than we do certified. Caveat is that it does not mean that some will not become certified. For example, I was hired with my certification pending, but it does show that ICSD struggles to hire certified teachers. Knowing the #1 reason teachers leave is other employment, it appears that certified teachers are finding greener pastures elsewhere. Lansing has 0 openings. Dryden has 1. North Syracuse, with over 8,000 students, has only 6 openings. ICSD, with almost 6,000 students, about 20,000 less, 2,000 less, has 24 current openings on Recruit Fund. Clearly, we are having a problem not only with retaining teachers, but also attracting them. I'll wrap up. Please look closely at the data, draw your own conclusions about our retention and recruitment. We also ask that you request accuracy and documentation on board reports to assist in objectively working towards a solution. In closing, I hope the data I've painstakingly put together can assist in understanding and finding solutions to the escalating problem, and that you can work with HR on effectively documenting, understanding, and combating turnover. Thank you for your time.
Please.
Hey, can I have one? Yeah, can we have like one student?
So I guess I'd ask all the speakers if you could submit electronic versions of your comments to Tricia. They will be distributed to the board electronically. But just very thorough document, you can get a PDF to Tricia, please. That said, response by the board.
Yeah, did you want to say something?
No, I just figured it was you and us.
What? Yeah, it's a complicated issue and it's very nuanced and it's not as simple as just like having the money, not wanting to pay. It's just, where do we find the money? That's the reality. And, you know, it's easy to say, hey, we could pay this in year 1. And how do we pay in year 5? And what does that mean to the district? When year 5 rolls around, we hit a financial cliff. We don't have the money to pay the budget that we have. So like that's part of like what we're tasked with is trying to like create financial viability, not just in the short term, but the long term. And there's a lot of moving parts. And again, you know, we've said this before, you know, we've hired Cornell to do an RFP to kind of analyze the district, to understand enrollment trends, to understand like, you know, if we're potentially do consolidation, which we're looking at, which is a way to actually save money for the district. So we're doing things that haven't been done before, you know, because we're recognizing that this is a serious problem and we're trying to find like actual solutions to do that. And you know, I don't want to speak for Dr. Brown, but Dr. Brown, believe it or not, wants to pay teachers more. I know everyone wants to, you know, he's the one that gets thrown under the bus. To me, it doesn't feel, I don't feel comfortable with him always taking on the heat. So, you know, I just, everyone on this board is trying to figure out like, how do we solve the problem? And it's not as simple as just, you know, paying people more. So there's so many moving parts. We're trying to analyze all those. We're trying to come up with solutions. We're trying to, you know, not just in the short term, but like how do we make sure that 10 years from now, the district is going to be, you know, viable. So it's something that I know everyone on this board cares about. I know everyone on this board wants to pay more. I know Dr. Brown wants to pay more. I know staff wants to pay more. I know that they are constantly working behind the scenes to like pull different levers to figure out how to actually do that. And, you know, not everyone sees that, you know, but I appreciate everyone coming out because, you know, I feel like every time I get a new piece of information that helps kind of guide me, gives me a different perspective. So I value when everyone comes out and speaks. You know, I appreciate everyone coming out and speaking and helping to give us, you know, give us a better understanding of your perspective. And yeah, I mean, we're doing the best we can, and you know, we're going to continue to try to like turn over every rock and look at things from different angles to try to find solutions. And you know, I think we're cautiously optimistic. So.
Well, thank you, Meg, and thank you everyone for speaking, and I'm just going back to respond to your question about why personnel reports change. There's always changes with different reports over time, but do bring that to our HR committee next month. Well, what I can tell you is that resignation is sometimes the safest reason to put down, because we were getting too much into details of individuals, why they were departed. So to just protect the confidentiality, because quite honestly, I wouldn't want the world to know when I'm relocating and where am I going to. So we really have to protect the confidentiality of individuals. So there was some information on the personnel report that you requested to change the terminology. So thank you, and as Garrett had asked, if you could just provide anyone that sent in any documents provided to our board clerk, who will get it to all board members. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for coming in. Nicole, well, I'll just say out loud, thank Nicole for her extended service in the district. I didn't have the opportunity to work with her directly, but she sounds like a wonderful teacher. So I appreciate her sharing. Maybe Kathy, you can pass that along. Elliot, I just want to say partially thank you for sharing about the physical conditions at the high school. I think that is helpful to hear, and something I just will look into and want to learn more about. And also just to say that I think that that's really sad that half of your teachers that you've had over the last 12 years have now left, and I'm sorry for you that you're having that experience, no matter what the reason is for them having departed. So I hope that overall your experience at the high school has been a positive one. Meg, as always, your research and data is impeccable, and I appreciate you sharing everything, and definitely look forward to looking through it much more. I am, yeah, you're I'm chairing the HR committee. I would love to chat with you more about some of your ideas, and I do agree with Karen that there are some reasons that we're actually making like very thoughtful choices in how things are listed in the personnel report. But we also have gained a lot of ideas from questions that have come up in the negotiations, about more information that I look forward to talking to the team about, being able to collect and know more about. And if there are opportunities to explore ways to make things more informative, I look forward to doing that. I can't say right now, because I'm still learning as well, but definitely appreciate all of the feedback and information. And just thank you everybody for coming, Woody, it's good to see you. I feel like I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth answering your question, so I just wanna acknowledge that you asked it, and also say that I have not been on the board all that long, and don't want to give a historical perspective that that I don't have firsthand knowledge of. But would love for, one of us would be, I would be happy to learn more and connect with you in whatever way that I can to provide more information.
Any other responses? Just add to Elliot, great to see students at the board. Thank you. Victor, we look for your Wegmans and bar results. And Meg, I think this is the heftiest submission we've had for public comment. So I think you found your calling in the library. And with that, we will move on to is there anything else, student reps?
Oh, amazing. Okay, guys. I'm really happy to see you guys all back here again. I know I was here last year, but sadly tennis season held me off from seeing you guys, so now I'm back. But I have three main reports actually. So the first thing is that I know I talked about this last year, but I was launching a club called Vocalis, and now we have 10 chapters all over the world, and we're projected to impact 100,000 people by the end of the school year. And basically, just to reiterate on what it is again, it's the world's first youth pipeline project. So we're letting middle schoolers explore any topic of interest. So that could be anything from culinary arts to stem cell research. And then we pair them up with high schoolers, and they get paired up with a professional, and they all work on this project throughout the school year. And that's just something that I wanted to talk to you guys about and give you guys an update, because I know I mentioned it last year. And then secondly, we have Code Red. So we just attended our off-season competition, and we won Spirit Award with 14 members, so that's saying something, I'm guessing. And then also we just did our team volunteering at Spirit Park, and we competed over $2,000 worth of work that we did. And then the last thing that's okay is that there is the PSATs on Wednesday and Thursday for juniors, and since we're all juniors, we're not going to see you guys after 8:30 today, because we will have to get some good night's rest for the PSAT.
My name is Lily. I just want to say Science Olympiad on Saturday competed in their Georgia satellite competition or scrimmage. We held it at Tompkins County Public Library. That went pretty well. And on Friday, Ithaca High School recently had their first ever school-wide assembly at their stadium to celebrate student achievement. Before the assembly began, there was an unexpected school evacuation, but everyone handled it safely, and the event went on as planned after that was all settled. The assembly recognized accomplishments in sports, highlighted club updates, and featured a fun student versus teacher competition that included tug of war and musical chairs that brought a lot of energy and school spirit. This is brought on by our students as a feedback from last year with wanting more school spirit. And it was mainly organized by students. And we plan to continue pep rallies a few times a year. I would also just like to reiterate my thoughts about the ICA. I understand that I am a student. Yes, I may not pay taxes or have a full-time job. However, I'm not too naive to understand the magnitude of what's been going on, and neither are my peers. We notice the teacher turnover. We notice the lack of feedback we get on assignments now. And we notice that our teachers are being overworked in our district. My brother works as a teacher in New York State, and I see the merit in Stephen Lane. He really provides such a security in his job that I noticed personally, and versus whenever he's worked in this district. If there's no security in a job, there's not really as much of a reason to stay, which is difficult. I as I've said previously, students value not just a good teacher, but a consistent one. And I just implore you all to think about every aspect of this and everyone who's speaking to you on this topic, because it's not just teachers who are being affected by this. And I understand that it's a lot more in-depth and difficult than just like implementing that quickly. And I cannot stress enough the importance of teacher working conditions or student learning conditions. Also responding to something that someone said on the board, someone mentioned about how in 10 years, how viable would a step-in lane be? And I just like to ask, how do we know student education will be viable, how not teachers? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with you update from Saka High School. Our juniors and seniors had their T3 college trip today, and many of our sport team had their senior night last week, where we recognized graduation athletes for their hard work and dedication. On the athlete side, our varsity cross country team went on the Manhattan University Innovation, where girls team placed seventh on the Eastern Championship and boys finished on eighth. Varsity girls soccer will play their stats semifinal on Wednesday, while boys JV soccer team had advanced to the stats tournament with the under 3 12-0. Additionally, our varsity volleyball team took first place on the horse head tournament. Looking ahead, our varsity winter sport registration will open this Saturday. Thank you.
So I want to bring up a concern that a student brought to me about accessibility in the high schools. So there have recently been some problems, not only with physical accessibility with doors, but also with IEPs and 504s and how those are being accommodated. And I think part of this goes to the low teacher retention and the missing teachers, that a lot of IEPs and 504s can't actually be met because we have a low student teacher ratio. But also I wanted to talk about some issues with the actual building itself. I don't expect these issues to be fixed short term, but this is something that should be on the board's mind. There are students that go to our school that have mobility issues, that have wheelchairs, or that have crutches or some other type of mobility disability. And it's very hard for some of our students to navigate the school. Now, our school does follow state law and it follows federal laws on accessibility, but those laws are very bare minimum, and it's hard for me to walk through the school and see people not be able to get to their classes, and they're not able to get to their classes on time, and they're not being educated the same as other students. I've had to open the door for students in wheelchairs multiple times this year, and they shouldn't have to be forced to go around the entire school to get in the building. So in the future, if there's some way that we could add more accessible doors around the entire building, I think that would be something that's valuable. I'm going to our IHS's Disability Justice Club, one of their meetings next week, and then I'll bring back some findings from there and try to represent them as well. But I'll have that stuff next week.
Okay, so I know we've been kind of hammering you guys past couple of weeks. Got a lighter load tonight. It's only Bo and I tonight. Emily has a personal matter to attend to. So be a bit shorter than too. I'm just gonna start by again reiterating our support to the student body for the ITA and for the district and the ITA to reach an agreement. We know negotiations happened a little bit. We know the negotiations are happening again on Thursday. We look forward to seeing the results of that. But again, I want to reiterate, as I have been, we want to see our teachers with new contracts. We want to see their concerns addressed in the new contract, including step-in lane system, better paid family leave, and supplemental Medicare. Those are all some, we as a student body, we stand behind the teachers and their need for those. Along with that, seeing the wage discrepancies addressed. We know there have been some meetings happening for that. I know teachers who are affected by this personally. We know the meetings are happening, but again, we believe it should be a top board priority to make sure those are addressed timely and like that teachers are made whole into this extent. And I also want you, now, you heard this from us a lot last year, but the bus situation at LICS, we're back on that. So forgive me for bringing this up again, but we believe it's still an issue. Again, I want to shout out the bus garage transportation department. They do incredible amount of work there every morning, every afternoon, getting 6,000 students, 5,000 students, 4,000 students from home to school and back. That is an incredibly difficult job, and of course, shout out to them. That being said, we still have kids getting in pretty late. We start out the year much worse. At this point, it's about 15 kids arriving about 20 minutes late every single day consistently. From the IHS shuttle bus, that's the bus that's I guess IHS is the hub. That's the final mile from IHS to LICS crosstown. So again, first period ends at 9:45. So they miss about half of their first period of class every day. That could be your gym class, that could be your Spanish class, that's your English, your math, but that is still half a period every single day. It's better compared to the 45 minutes late we experienced early on in the year, which was completely unacceptable. You just missed the class outright. That it's not conducive to any learning. But it doesn't just negatively impact period attendance, but it all being chronically late like this, like through the busing system, but also social emotional learning and mental health. One of our social workers asked me to talk about how difficult it can be to ground a kid in their day when the buses are so late, and they likened it to like missing your morning coffee or having like something go wrong in the morning. When a bus is this late, it just throws off your day, and it can mess and it kind of just like the flow of your day is gone. For a lot of kids, they rely on having that flow, that consistency throughout the day. When that's gone, the day is almost null at that point. It also impacts physical health. We're very proud of our breakfast system. We've had free breakfast and lunch at LICS for several years at this point beyond the district-wide free breakfast and lunch system. Some kids, though, are unable to take advantage of this because they are so late. We've moved our breakfast system out to the main lobby, and we've seen many more kids take advantage of that breakfast, about 3 times as many compared to last year. But when they get there, there's no breakfast. It's either limited, there's only like a couple things left, so they have to hurry to eat it up, and they get to class, or they have to eat in class, or they just don't eat. And that's unacceptable. We have some ideas on how to address this. We know the bus garage again works super hard, but with all the buses being GPS tracked this year, we believe there's somewhere in that data we can figure out what's happening. Where is the bus like going too long of a route here? Where is it stopping for too long? We know Lisa G in our main office, she's wonderful. She knows exactly when the bus gets in, which kids are on that, which kids consistently are late. We've tracked that data every day since the start of the year. We are very familiar with this issue. And again, they've been working, again, Lisa with them in the main office with the bus garage on this. But we'd love to bring it to the attention of the board to hopefully apply, like work with bus garage, work with everybody, and find a solution to this. Chronic lateness helps nobody in this situation. Mental health, physical health, chronic absenteeism, these are all effects of this. Again, we'd love and we'd love to have some board help remedy this.
All right, so each year LACS goes on a fall retreat to Arnott Forest. We use this time for a rich communal bonding experience. So we stay there Thursday into Friday. With the high schoolers, they stay overnight in cabins with their family groups, and middle schoolers, they leave at the end of the day and return the morning of the next. And so and this past week, like this past Thursday and Friday, we had our fall retreat. On Thursday night, we had our yearly talent show, which I myself and Emily, who is not here, performed in. We saw a slew of amazing performances from pretty much like every demographic of the school. It was like pretty, it was a pretty 2.5 hours of, but it was really awesome. And I like, and there's all this kind, like, this is just really like you feel like part of the LACS community going into this experience, so it's just kind of nice. After that, we retired to their cabins for the night, and some of us nearly froze our toes off. Half of us got heated cabins, well, half of us didn't. Whatever. The entire retreat was an incredible experience for really everyone involved, and we're, I would say, much together as for doing it. And before I pass off, I want to really hit home what Julian said on the ITA. It is so important to our students and to us that we see teachers get a contract, and further so that the contract is step and lane, supplemental Medicare, and paid family leave. But pardon my bluntness, but if we don't reward teachers for having higher degrees, we won't get teachers with higher degrees. It's plain and simple. And I know you might be sick of us saying it every meeting, but it only grows more important. Teachers aren't getting paid as much as we would like them to be. And we need to say that. It needs to be heard.
I guess, let's jump in a little bit.
You want to?
Yeah, sure. No, I think I was just gonna follow up on what Boat was saying just a second ago. I think, I don't think as board members, anybody's sick of hearing students advocating for teachers, I think. We're happy to hear people advocating for teachers, community support, teachers themselves, everybody who's coming out, spouses of teachers. So I think that's great. I think, so thank you for that, first of all. And like Todd was saying before, I think all board members, are interested in paying teachers more. I could say personally, like, I'm interested in paying teachers more. The question that, that I'm struggling with as a board member is just sort of like, how high can we go in terms of how much we can offer teachers without causing, problems to financial viability to the school district, or having to make some difficult choices. And, what if those choices are closing a school or cutting a program or doing something like that. So I think we're trying to figure out exactly how to do that, and we're learning more about that. And that's sort of the question. So I think just want everybody to sort of appreciate the heaviness of that. And I think there's a good question about the viability of students. That's a great question, like, what is going to have, how much impact will that have on student learning? And where does that come in? And so I think that's kind of where everybody's at right now. Like, we're all thinking about all of these different topics, with the desire and premise to pay teachers as much as we possibly can. So just to give a sense, I think I just wanted to say that to say, like, what am I thinking about as one board member? That's what I'm thinking about. As somebody who ran for the school board because I wanted to support teachers, and I do want to support teachers. So, I think I just wanted to say that. Also, I think, going back to Judah's comment, I appreciate you bringing up the issue of accessibility. Looking forward to that data that you can bring back to us. And, that also might be a question that we can raise at the facilities committee. So that might be something to talk about once we have that information, if there are certain things that needs to be changed or fixed, we can kind of do that. So I appreciate everybody's comments.
I'll jump in, really just to echo a lot of what Adam said about value and perspective. Lily, you said, that you are naive, and you most certainly don't think that you are, and are really, really grateful for the perspective of all of you, which is why you are here. And unlike a lot of districts, as we've talked about before, we've made an effort to have students at this table for decades now, because we recognize how important that is and how important student voice is. So I hope you never hesitate to share your perspective, regardless of if it's here or in another capacity. I do feel like I need to call out that this is the second time in the last 2 weeks that a student has made a comment about their teachers not working as hard for them. The comment tonight was, this is why we're getting a lack of feedback on our assignments. There was a comment last week about teachers being less engaged, or this is why, my teachers aren't engaging with me as much in the classroom. And I just have to say, like, these are two very different issues. I feel like I know so many teachers in this district, and I have no doubt that they are putting in, or I would like to think that they are putting in their everything every single day in the classroom. And so just want to call out that I hope that within this district, there's an ability to separate the negotiations that are happening right now and the teaching and learning that is happening in classrooms. And to thank teachers for being able to kind of balance those two things of feeling a lot of frustration and also being able to show up every day, all day, and engaging with their students and giving them the best opportunities that they have every day to learn and engage. And otherwise, just again, it seems like a lot of things have come up about facilities. It's like really entertaining to have Dan Brandon sitting right center in front of us, because I feel like we have so many conversations we can have with him after the presentations today and opportunities to learn more. So feel free.
No, I'd like to interrupt. But
Yeah.
feel free, because this is now student comments, board responses. I don't think we're having dialogue now. Because I see two hands raised, because last meeting we went on a bit too long. And we need to have that discussion about student reps when it comes time to your involvement. And I know that we have a new policy around student reps and all, but during this time, it's student reps reporting out and board response. It's not conversation. You can make comments, but I don't think we should be answering questions now.
I didn't have a.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand raised. I thought Julia.
Well, should we go through the responses? And
Yeah, I mean, since we keep talking about the teacher negotiations, you know, I'm gonna keep circling back to that. It is very complicated, and it's complicated because our budget, majority of our budget comes from taxes, and we are one of the most expensive places to live in New York State. And it makes it, if most teachers can't afford to own a house in Ithaca. Most people can't afford to own a house in Ithaca. You know, the number one reason that I joined the board is because I came to a board meeting. And there was a guy that got up, he was in his late 70s. He's a grown man. He, you know, was alumni Cornell, I think he was a veteran. And the guy was in tears. He started crying. He said, you know, I wanted to live and die in my home. I wanted to retire here. And I'm on fixed income. And I can't live here. A grown man in his 70s started crying because he couldn't afford the taxes. So the money that goes to pay the teachers comes from somewhere. And there was a vote that went out and the community voted no. You know, Dr. Brown proposed, I forget what the percentage increase was for teachers, 7%. The community said, no, we can't afford that because we're overtaxed it is, and it's unfortunate. Like it's unfortunate that we live in Ithaca because we don't get the same subsidies that we get from the state because we're considered a high net worth area. So the majority of our budget comes from paying taxes, and people can't afford to live here. Like if you look at, you know, what it costs to own a house in Syracuse or Elmira or Binghamton. You know, and then for taxes, all that stuff, like, so those are all things that are taken into consideration. And, you know, when we talk about financial cliff and what happens in 10 years, if you don't have money to pay your bills, it's a problem. And, you know, we hear things where it's like, you know, teachers are overworked. You know, one of the reasons teachers are overworked too is because, you know, the district had to cut, you know, people in order to make the budget just work for this year. So the reality is like there's consequences. Like when if we're paying more, something needs to give, right? There needs to be some sort of concession. That means like you guys are losing certain classes, right? Certain programs have to get cut. You're having more students per classroom because, you know, we have to consolidate teachers in order to make the budget work. So you're having maybe less teachers with more students. So that's what I say, like when it is nuanced, it is nuanced, and there's money in the fund balance. We all know there's money in the fund balance, but that only goes for so long. And once that fund balance is depleted, then how do we take care of that delta? How do we cover that delta? And like eventually, like you run out of things to cut. So like when we talk about like you know, fiscal responsibility and you know the district being viable, it has to take those things into account. Like so it really is difficult, and there's so many things that go into it. And again, like everyone wants to pay more. You know, we're trying to figure out how to do that, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer than we all want. You know, another challenge that we faced months ago that I don't know if it's necessarily as big of a concern is like federal funding. you know. We had a president who was talking about pulling federal funding from all the schools, and that makes up part of our budget. I think that's less of a concern. But like, so it's like, hey, if that happens, what do we do? How do we make up $2 million or $3 million or whatever it could potentially be? Who do we have to cut, or what programs have to be cut? So like, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and I think it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that teachers don't have a contract yet, and it doesn't feel fair. But this does feel like one of those things that it's taking a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that the time that it's taking is also giving us more information that's allowing us to make a better decision for everyone. Better decision for the district in the long run, better decision for the teachers. And I think when it's all said and done, I think the extra time is gonna have benefited. And it's hard to like realize that now, and I'm cautiously optimistic. Take that take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot. This RFP is gonna make a huge difference. We don't know what that difference is. We haven't been able to quantify it yet. We're hoping that consolidation is gonna help. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys advocating for teachers. It's just know that we are trying to be objective, and we're trying to pay as much as we possibly can, but then still have a district that's financially viable and can actually pay its bills and can actually pay its teachers. So that's part of it. Like, you can promise someone something and you could, give them a raise, but then if you can't pay them, what good is that? So we need to balance those things, and that's what we're trying to do.
I just want to jump in one thing. I'm aware it's left like the Roberts rules a bit more.
I'll leave it to our vice president to comment about that.
I mean,
What is?
I just want to say regarding like the cuts. LACS experienced a big cut last year with our guidance staff, and that was for some, I think, between difficult and detrimental. So
let's,
yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm gonna stand by, Karen's point. I think we don't have it's not a dialogue,
Yeah.
so.
Clarification
is what we'll take, but.
And that's something you guys should take into consideration, because there's gonna be more cuts. In order to pay teachers more, there's gonna be more cuts.
Yeah, I just want to say that
So
we
like,
want to have students involved.
and something to think about. Wow, I don't know.
I'll move on to my
Yeah,
comment.
I'm gonna put my mouth, yeah.
Just to say thank
Yeah.
you all, and any facilities, bus department issue and all, please make sure you bring it to your principal's attention so that they can in turn bring it to the relevant individuals. Yes, Stan is here, but after this meeting, it's not his responsibility to take all that details, because the building leader knows what to do to move it along. And with regard to chronic lateness, or if there's breakfast, I was at LACS last year one time when I saw bagged breakfast. So they've done that where if students were late for whatever reason, they were never denied any breakfast. So we may need to revisit that if that's the case, or bring it up to Lisa and anyone else involved, Thank you.
Are there any other board responses? Okay, so. Let's see here. Yeah, we have a consent. Where's that? Matt.
He's not like.
Number 8, okay. Good. So all my own or not? All right, so we're gonna move on to. Yeah. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. But I'm just gonna ask, well, what is Emily's talent before we move on? I'm curiosity.
Sorry?
Emily and both had a talent show with
Unicycle.
unicycle. All right.
Emily, yeah.
Maybe we could reach unicycle. I think that would be something we could for us, unicycle.
I can't risk it. I'm injury prone.
All right, so let's move on to the consent agenda, so item 5. Adam.
I move to approve all consent agenda items listed in the consent agenda, consideration of accounts, personnel report, and minutes of previous meetings or meeting as presented.
I second.
So, okay, so Adam so moves, Madeline seconds, any discussions on that? All the questions. question, yeses? It's unanimous in favor. Move on to item 6.
Oh, cause that just blew that.
Oh, we were, so right,
Yeah, so we just go on to.
Count 7, 8, so we moved to 9. Okay, that's why I was. There you go. So Dr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Blaylock. I wish to defer, however, my time until the next meeting. Mr. Grove and I have prepared a student achievement results update that is pretty exciting and encouraging, but we will defer because we have some friends that we invited to speak at 7 who have someplace else to be. So I'm if I can, I just will move on to the lawn and have our friend from CST BOCES go next, and I will talk about student achievement results.
This brings, I was gonna announce that this week is homecoming week on the Board of Education. We've got some returnees.
Oh.
I'm very lost.
I like it. Anyway, Mr. Granger, a long time board member here in our school district, and Ms. Talkey, who is the district superintendent for CST BOCES, are here to talk with us. And we have some friends from our team here in ICSD who were out a little bit later than they were anticipated. So again, shift back. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. Hey, nice to see everybody tonight. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Lily Talcott. I get to serve as the district superintendent for Tompkins Seneca Tioga BOCES.
I'm Brad Granger. I had the pleasure of serving in your seat for a dozen years, a few years back, and now I represent the Ithaca City School District on the TST board.
Karen Arnold, Ithaca High School principal.
Dan Bryman, Assistant Superintendent of Operations.
And we're really excited this evening to get to talk a little bit about regionalization and what that means here in this area.
And I'm going to start off with it. We've had some meetings about regionalization. I think you're aware that the state commissioner has required these conversations, and Karen and Dan and Karen attended some of those conversations, and we're going to be giving a report on that today. I mean, one of the things that I think was settled very quickly in the conversations was the idea that regionalization was all about merging and the nervousness over that, and that is not what it was about. Regionalization is about opportunity, and what we've had conversations about is to increase opportunities for all of our students, and by all I mean among Ithaca and all of our surrounding districts who are part of TST. And you know what I'd say to you is that that many ICSD students are served very well in this district, but some are not. And the objective here is to see if there are ways where we can create newer opportunities to us, to Ithaca, but opportunities that currently exist in our neighboring school districts, and how do we share that? And what are the opportunities here in Ithaca that some of our neighbors might like to be able to access and use? And so that's the idea that we'll be taught, that Lily will be giving you the report on and where we're headed on that. I want you to think something like P-TECH. And P-TECH has what, about 80, 90 students now at TC3. It's a complete high school. It's a 9 through 12 program. Number of Ithaca students participated in it. Students from other districts in the area. I want you to think in that kind of realm of a shared service where students from all over the region are participating in it. Doesn't necessarily mean all day like P-TECH, but where it's being shared among all of the districts here. I want to say it's not all about saving money, but that's an opportunity as part of it. If there are on the operations side, potentially a way to save money, if there are ways, other ways in sharing that we can save money, that's there, and that we speak to that in the report. But I want you to understand it's not our first, but it's something we're looking at, and how can that happen? And I know all of our neighboring districts are no different than you are, struggling with the same issues of budget, and want to figure out if there are ways to at least do it as efficiently as they're doing it now and maybe more efficiently as they go forward. So that's kind of a framing of where we've been, and we've had a number of conversations among all of the districts. Lily has hosted those at TST. Karen, I know you were in one, I mean, in the gymnasium with what, 100 people present, 80 up to 100, I don't want to exaggerate, it's 80, all right, 80 some people. So a lot of people in the region who are interested in this, who want to know about how we may share more things, and it's going to take time. I don't want you to think it's going to happen tomorrow, and everybody's got to agree to play in the sandbox together. And all the different districts have to play in the sandbox together, and that's going to take time and coordination. And I leave it to you, Lily, to walk us through the presentation.
Appreciate it,
Thank
thank you. So Brad's correct. In the spring, we had a number of convenings, and Trisha, am I exceptionally, love it, thank you, fabulous. So here's some photographs from some of our sessions that we held up at TST. We had folks from all 9 component school districts that are in our regions. We had teachers, we had administrators, board members, community members, community partners,
Union representatives,
et cetera. And it was, and yes, I did have 80 people stand in a circle and introduce themselves, but right, we we do say that the means must be representative of the ends, just like Dorothy Cotton says. If we are going to be in community with each other, then the way that we gather actually matters. So it was great to get to know folks from Groton and Candor and George Junior and Ithaca all together in would you agree? Yeah. At the heart of all of this is the work from the Blue Ribbon Commission that you may remember from the pre-COVID days. And New York State is taking a pretty, I would say, transformational look at how to shift teaching and learning for young people in the state. And at the heart of all of it is the culturally responsive sustaining education framework. And so you may be familiar with the Portrait of a Graduate, which was recently proposed to the Board of Regents in July at their meeting. And this is pretty rare for the Board of Regents, but they instantly adopted it. So this was based on lots of feedback and lots of work from the field. And I will also share that Chancellor Lester Young says over and over that your zip code, your child in your state, your zip code must not dictate your opportunity. That's what the Portrait of the Graduate, regionalization, and the work that the New York State Education Department is doing. That's what we're going for. It shouldn't matter where you live, right? Every kid deserves great opportunity. The regionalization conversation, I think these materials have been in board docs, so you've had an opportunity to get to know some of the why behind it. Dr. Jeff Madison, who was the district superintendent at TST BOCES for many years, big shoes to fill. He is now the senior deputy commissioner, the #2 at the New York State Education Department. He has really put forward a lot of the work around regionalization. And it's been wonderful to have that connection, frankly, at the State Education Department. And he's talked with our School Boards Association that Karen and Emily are a part of, and Erin was a part of for many years as well. So we've been having lots of conversations about this along the way. You can see the timeline. October 1st, we submitted a plan. It's really rolling. This is intended to be a document that is fluid in a lot of ways, right? It's really about implementation. And in our regionalization conversations, we landed on 3 big buckets: career pathways, operations, and inclusive special education based on all of this. Some of the examples that are literally happening right this very moment are brand new machining and manufacturing, career and technical education program at Candor, shared transportation directors between Candor, Newfield, and in-district special education programming that is BOCES operated, started today in Lakewood. So these are examples of regionalization that are happening in real time. Here is our manufacturing, our machining and manufacturing building. So I'm a pointer, like I need to stay in. My apologies. All right. So there was all of this incredible equipment that was in Canberra, right? It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but only kids in Canberra could have access. Now, machining and manufacturing, if you look at some of the statewide data from all the labor statistics, these jobs are super advanced, right? So why not, based on these regionalization conversations, Jeff is one of our CTE teachers, and now he teaches full day in Candor, and kids from all over our region and from Broome Tioga BOCES can now attend. So we have 13 kids. Yes, they're still around. Send more kids, Karen. We'll talk about it later. And it's a great example of taking what we already have and simply expanding it out. So more kids have more access to excellent opportunities. The special education class in a component district, I took one of our students photos from earlier in the year, but literally it opened today, which was very, very exciting. We have somewhat of a continuum that started at Advancing, that's open to students from Ithaca, South Seneca, Groton, Dryden, et cetera. So we're welcoming students into a program. We don't have any more space in physical BOCES campus, right? For more programming. And this allows students with disabilities and students without disabilities to have more opportunities to learn together. And then another example that's happening literally right now is early college access. So we have opened a COSER, what's called a cooperative service agreement, to essentially create a catalog that instead a dual enrollment course catalog that may be this big is now this big. So kids from all over our region now have access to dual enrollment courses to earn credit while they are in high school with a catalog that just multiplied, right? So Newfield may not have the opportunity to offer chemistry 101, but Trumansburg might, right? So now suddenly that's open to them. I want to give Karen a little bit of a moment to talk a little bit about how this could be powerful in the future in relationship to AP classes and some of the challenges that you all see here at Ithaca High School and kind of what may be possible moving forward. Not happening yet, but the possibilities of play ahead.
Yeah, it was exciting just to get together with people throughout the region and start talking about things that were happening throughout. So one of the things that just came about for me, that when people were questioning me, was about AP courses. So it'll be something definitely to look into and see, and just as we are exploring other possibilities around the table of what that could look like. And just, it again was really great to network and see.
So then the following slides are some of the actual items that our region has come up with to just begin with. A regional transportation task force. This would really be about solving issues throughout our Tri-County area. Okay. And did you want to say anything more about that one?
No, I think it's interesting about the transportation task force and looking at it more closely and seeing how we could possibly look at staff shortages, civil service barriers, and other things. So I appreciate you bring this conversation to us in the region.
Having an inventory of programming that's offered throughout the region. So I know when I was here in Ithaca, worked here for 19 years, fabulous place to be. there were no ag programs, there were no consistent agricultural programs. For those of you who know me, I live on a large dairy farm. My husband's a third generation dairy farmer, and he was like, what's up with FFA, right? There's no FFA, there's never been FFA. That kind of programming then within the region could potentially be offered up for other kids, right? So rather than creating another position and trying to fund that long term, the possibility then becomes, how do you access somebody else's FFA for those kids who are excited about that? I'm kind of all set. I kind of like heels, and I'm probably not going to be wearing heels to any farms today, but we've already started down this path and expanding inclusive special education program offerings. We've already started down this path as well, really opening up for all of our Committee on Special Education chair people to have access within just that group of all of the openings throughout our whole region. So we might have a student who is a South Seneca student, and yet there may be room in Trumansburg at a particular student profile that may make sense, and they can easily coordinate transportation. We want to do, our region said that we want to do a lot more professional development around inclusive and specialized instruction. We're welcoming more students who are neurodivergent. We're excited about that. That makes our world a better place, and we need more professional development and support in that. And then we get into some of the career academy work. So we want to understand the current status of where career development and workforce development lies. What are people already doing right now? And then how can we expand that to ultimately create potentially career academies? P-TECH is a great example of this, and huge shout out to Karen, because when we were preparing this, you reminded everybody, we already have one of these things. It's pretty extraordinary. It's the first one in the state to be moved to a college campus. And there are 7 pathways that are already within P-TECH already.
And if board members haven't visited P-TECH yet, I recommend you do.
If you have,
yeah, you should see it. Number of classrooms right at TC3, interaction with the college students. It's a wonderful program.
Okay, great. We're already working on a communication strategy regarding regionalization. And the last thing that I think was really interesting, Karen, maybe you want to talk a little bit about this, that something that was elevated was that folks want to do regional Board of Education sessions at least one time a year.
Yeah, because on a monthly basis, Emily and I participated at TSC BOCES SBA School Board Association. And prior to that, it was Erin and I, and it's school districts all across TSC BOCES. So there was recommendation that some of the board training that we can have here across the board to include more than just reps going to TSC BOCES on a monthly basis, but board members coming together and having the necessary training that would, unfortunately, is always usually just new board members that have the mandatory training for their first year, but this is an opportunity for continuous training for board members.
So again, I'll end with, my job as a district superintendent for the New York State Education Department is our mission is to be vigorous agents of change for greater equity and excellence for all children in New York State. I see regionalization as a possible, actual, actionable way forward to possible for kids. And we wanted to make sure that you all had some more information. We'd be happy to talk a little bit more about it.
I'll jump in. On the PTA council, like 2 years ago, one of the main topics that we spoke about was the lack of like off ramps at IHS, if you weren't planning to go to college, you weren't kind of, you know, trying to follow that pathway, other opportunities to be able to engage into dual enrollment opportunities or other career and tech opportunities. So can you talk a little bit about what, if any, is already, I think I like wasn't following totally about which things like IHS is already involved in or what the like central, like is ag, like one of the things that are you're most interested in, like what ideas have we can come up?
We don't have an ad, like Lily said, and though we have animal science, it's a CTE, which my daughter went to, she was FFA president at the time. So that was, I would say all of them are BOCES CTE, we have New Visions, PTech. So they're housed at BOCES, and I hear, you know, you saying your campus is up. So as you explore and grow and you don't have a place to do that, you know, that's when I look at Candor and think, wow, that's pretty cool. Now the TST BOCES teachers there and kids that want to explore that program. I don't know if that helps.
Like, how do you share that information with them if there's?
I would be cautious because with Dion and I, we have to worry about transportation. Our hours at the high school are different than other hours. So to commit to something that would be really difficult, there's a lot of domino effects that have to be explored. And a lot of it is we operate in different hours as other high school students. And we have a really large area, mileage area, so.
I mean, that's one of the things we talked about at one of the convenings was
Yeah.
everybody's on a different schedule. And to do more of this, we're gonna have to be a little better aligned one with the other. And you know, that has scheduling issues for transportation, but it also has union issues as to hours and so forth. So that's part of why I said this isn't gonna happen overnight. But we know what the issues are and need to work on in order to provide that opportunity. Because that manufacturing program at Candor might fit 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many students from here who might really enjoy that and want to be there.
But there are programs currently at BOCES, like criminal justice, culinary arts, cosmetology,
welding,
exercise science, which was previously exercise science, now with New Vision, where students wanted to participate. It's usually 11th and 12th grade, and there's an open house usually in the fall time where it's offered at the high school about the open house that they can connect and bring their families and go to the open house.
Yes, we do an assembly in the fall too, and when the program of studies comes out to talk about the programs at BOCES.
Okay.
So yes, I didn't answer that part of the question. Sorry about that. We now have a beautiful mural of our BOCES outside of our student services too. That is painted on the wall and advertising not all, but many of the programs, so that kids know that there are other pathways other than if they don't want to go college bound. And I would say many of our OC students are college bound, right? Yeah.
And we've done some of this already, when we had our the German teachers talk about the German trip, and we had partnered with other school districts where they'll come over here to do German lessons, and we do it a lot with our athletics.
I was just gonna say that. I think it's on your board report tonight, but hockey, that's regionalization, right? Where I think I read that. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. It's statewide athletics is the top item that's regionalized.
But in the future and in the near future, there might be challenges around transportation, right? And or if all school districts go the route of EV buses, right? Where are we going to go and charge up? So that would be part of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Great.
you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So thank you for that. Look forward to further discussion on regionalization. And moves us to, item, should be 10.2. It's 11. Policy 1500, public use of school facilities for second reading and adoption. We have a motion. Anyone like to move that?
Yeah, I move to approve policy 1500, public use of school facilities for second reading and adoption.
Actually, it's first reading, we realize. But we are going to recommend that if we can get enough votes, that we would like to do a first reading and adoption. We just need, that's the word. Yeah. What's the word? Yeah.
Super majority. But we have 7 people, so we would like 6 votes.
Yeah, we've talked about this very, very, very many times with words. And there's only been pretty minor updates, so I think that happy to answer that question.
I'm pretty sure that we can move this past the second reading with super majority, is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Do you want to share a little bit about?
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, we're really excited that our stadium is open Saturdays and Sundays to the public. We want to make sure, I just want to say that our tennis courts are open. We're really working hard to make sure our resources are available to the community. For educational activities, but to also serve the public good. Some of the other things we've looked at is a waive of costs for nonprofits if they are using our spaces during the school day and during contract hours. We're also looking at in the policy, we have a 10-day period, but we're also looking to be flexible with that and not always hold to those 10 days. The other things we added, one of the things we added, and thanks Emily, was we added an open space use section. That's at the very bottom. But we want to acknowledge that our open outdoor spaces, athletic fields, playgrounds, courts, tracks, and open green areas are essential extension of district facilities. So we just wanted to share those new sections with you all. And yes, we have been working on this for a long time. We've probably brought it to you all maybe 5 times. So any questions at all?
Just having trouble with the agenda tonight. So 11.2 and 11.3 are one and the same.
That's a regulation.
They're two different.
They're 2 different
parts of the
policies.
2 different parts of the policy.
Yes.
But the same policy number.
Well,
We are.
Dash R,
yeah,
okay,
dash
all
R.
right,
So there's actually, so we're just talking about the first one.
First one, okay, to be clear, so
We're
we're gonna
gonna-
call the question on that then, is it?
Well, I said one question, there was one, item that was, I don't have it open right now, sorry about that. But it was talking about that the superintendent could make decisions or could appoint somebody to like speak on his behalf. I forgot the exact language, but I was just wondering about that part, like who can do that, or
It's designee.
the designee.
I am over a lot of the building use for the district. So I work with athletics, I work with fine arts, I work to provide advisement on nonprofit profits. I consult with the superintendent, but I'm his designee for a lot of the building use functions.
Okay, I just wanted to know
Yeah.
who the designee was. Understand that more, that was my
Yeah,
question.
no worries. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that we're gonna.
I'll move it again, I think, in the other way, and then we can vote on it.
We're gonna both.
We have to do one, I think we have to do
Well,
one at a time.
you already moved it.
But nobody seconded it, and we can change the language, so
okay.
I'll move it one more time. I'll just say, so I'm gonna move to approve policy 1500. Public use of school facilities, for potentially for adoption.
Second.
So Adam so moves and seconds,
Discussion.
please.
So we had this policy out before, it was never voted for first reading. It was just going back and forth and
That's correct.
discussion.
I was asked to just create a lot of different revisions.
So I think this is the first time we're coming to the board with
But
this.
there was a presentation.
Yeah,
over this
I think
policy.
that the issue is that we kept getting caught up on the piece about using the track. And for a while, we were talking about the tennis courts,
Yes.
but then like that problem kind of resolved itself because the district decided to go ahead and open up the track. So because of that, we haven't made dramatic changes from before, we just, you know, like, so which is why we thought that it was something that we could just adopt it, because there actually hasn't been dramatic change, we just thought we would have to.
So we're just moving it for adoption now.
Yeah, so we can do it on first reading if we have a supermajority.
So shouldn't the motion be for, so Adam, did you say the motion is first reading?
Well, I just kind of said for adoption, just send it.
Right, because if we're looking for a supermajority, then the motion should, the wording should state for first reading and adoption. I'm asking clarifying questions.
Oh, I mean, that sounds right to me. So we can approve it on the first reading with the supermajority, so that the motion should be for first reading.
Yeah.
And
I'll move it again.
With a
I'm getting a lot of
I'm
practice.
sorry, with a modification, we'll just do a modification.
With a modification, meaning I'll just say I modify to first reading and adoption. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Second,
Okay, so moved by Adam, second by Emily. Any further comments? All right, raise the question, all in favor? That passes with the super majority. Which now. Having trouble, agendas. Troubling tonight, now we're moving on to policy 1500-R, not to be confused with policy 1500.
Okay, so now I'm gonna move to approve policy 1500-R. Public use of school facilities for first reading and adoption.
second,
So moved, seconded by Emily. Any discussion on this? Call the question, all in favor? Okay. So we move to 11-4, and I think, Dan, we come right back to you. Conveniently located.
Yeah. Safety plan. I'll try to be brief. I know it's been a long meeting. Try to be as brief as possible. Tricia, do you want to put this up really quick for me? Okay. I know you all heard a lot about the safety plan, so I'll try to be quick. But every year we're required to update the safety plan. This year, you go to the next slide, please. Oh. If I can go to the next slide. Okay. New York State Board of Regents has adopted 2 amendments. Requires all school districts to update their safety plan. We're focusing on drills, emergency planning, terminology, communication procedures. And one of the big focuses for the state this year is trauma-informed drills. We want to make sure we carry out our drills in manners that don't create stress. And the way we do that is we create advance notification to families. Principals do that through newsletters and many different other ways. But when we're doing our drills, we also tell the students that this is a drill and it's not a real emergency. This makes, of course, students panic less, and it creates a better educational environment for a drill. All right. So this is some of the language that the state has changed from the typical shell that we will be adopting to our shelter, hold in place, evacuation, lockdown, and hold in place plan. And also I'll be working closely with Carrie Burke and Shane Taylor with athletics, also working with after school programs about safety procedures, providing training to coaches and advisors and program directors, and also making sure we have proper signage and memos. Another thing that we put in the safety plan this year was to be in line with Governor Hochul's extreme heat and emergency response. So we have in here is when we have language of when it's 82 degrees, we want to make sure that we take proactive measures like turning off overhead lights, lowering shades, operating fans, opening doors,
We have already trained all of our custodians with how to do this. We've also taken a year of historical temperature data in all of our classrooms to find out where all of our hotspots are in all of our buildings too. So that helps. And the main hotspots are usually, of course, in September and in June. When it's 88 degrees, we will relocate to cooler areas whenever it's practical. This really impacts most of our buildings that have second floors. Most of our elementaries that have second floors, like Fall Creek, South Hill, Bell Sherman, and Northeast. It does not impact, of course, our middle schools would have air conditioning, BGM, which has air conditioning, and the high school, which now has increased capacity to cool. We'll provide some training around that as well. Okay, that's about as fast as I can go through all the updates for the safety plan. Any questions at all from anyone? And I know you've heard it multiple times.
Just to be clear, there's no action item on this. So, right, so, it's just,
Isn't there-
ask questions.
It's because I'm sharing it now, because we have to set up a safety plan hearing, and we have to post it 45 days in advance. So I'm showing you the changes that we met and the final safety plan before we work to post it publicly and create our safety hearing.
Does that mean that the piece that you said you were still working with Carrie on is gonna be done before you post it for those 45 days?
Yes, I'm working with Carrie on that. Yeah, I would like to incorporate Carrie's feedback before I post. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, I think we're done with that, and we can move on to athletic murders. You've been so good.
So I move to approve the athletic merger with Corning School District for the girls ice hockey for the 2025-2026 school year.
Moved by Adam, seconded by Emily. Discussion on hockey. All those in favor? Okay, regionalization is here. So then we move on to 10.6. I believe we have a visitor.
Oh, we don't have that. What's the?
We have a audit.
We do, yeah. Oh. It's not on the.
Yeah, it's on.
So I thought.
Yeah, no,
Gentlemen, you can introduce yourself for the record. Tell what you did on.
Will do. Dom Lacey, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, and I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Dwayne Shunk from Insero and Company. On a yearly basis, by a matter of policy, practice, and law, we conduct an external audit, or better known as a financial audit. And Mr. Shunk is here to provide you with a review. And I have to say, an audit review at the end of a meeting like this, I'm sure is welcome. So, yeah.
Well, welcome. I apologize if I can stand in the hall.
That's okay.
We need to get a better waiting room system going here.
Not a problem. Okay. Again, so my name is Dwayne Schoen, audit partner with Insero. Happy to be here and briefly review the results of the audit with you. Overall, the audit was a good strong result on the audit, and I believe you have in your board docs a copy of this executive summary, which I'm going to talk mostly from this evening, which kind of gives you the highlights of the audit overall. So we're issuing an unmodified opinion is the technical term. It's a clean opinion, means that we believe the financial statements are fairly stated, don't require any modifications to be fairly stated in accordance with accounting standards. We're also issuing a clean opinion on the district's internal control and compliance in accordance with government auditing standards.
Normally at this meeting, we would also be giving you what's commonly called the single audit. It's officially called the audit under uniform guidance, which is an audit of the federal programs that the district administers. There are some delays at the federal level. Office of Management and Budget annually comes out with what's called a compliance supplement, which is what we use to determine the audit testing, the rules, the regulations that we need to do as part of that audit testing. That compliance supplement was due to come out in May. It's not come out yet. So we're not issuing those reports yet. Once that compliance supplement is issued, we'll take a look at it and make sure that it matches the draft versions of the supplement that the federal government had given us. And then we can go ahead and issue those. Those reports are not actually due until the end of March, so we've got some time. It's these reports that that you're receiving this evening are the ones that are due to New York State Education Department. In addition to the financial statement reports, you also will be receiving a management comment letter, which doesn't have any findings in this year's audit, and also notes the resolution of a comment from the last couple of years. So something that we had recommended was resolved. And then there's also two documents with respect to the extra classroom activity funds. There is a report which shows all the balances of the various clubs, and there is also a comment letter which has some comments in it with respect to those clubs and with respect to the audit procedures that we did in there. We're also providing you with what we commonly call a communication letter. Auditing standards require that we communicate certain aspects of the audit with you at the conclusion. That's what that letter does. It's pretty much boilerplate language. Nothing in there to be too concerned about. Page 5 and 6 of that executive summary has a couple of nice pie charts that I wanted to refer you to. These charts are not based on any particular fund. These are district as a whole. And they show the chart on page 5 shows, generally speaking, where the money comes from that comes into the district. And, you know, these numbers are probably not surprising to you, but the district, roughly 2/3 of the district's revenues are from property taxes and tax items. A little bit less than 1/4 of the revenues come from state sources. And then the rest of the revenues come from operating grants, other sources like interest, refunds, things like that. And then page 6 shows a similar pie chart for expenses, where the money goes. Roughly 3/4 of the expenses of the district go to instruction. Another roughly 13-14% go to general support. And then the remainder goes to transportation, other, which is things like interest on debt, school lunch programs, things like that. Also in that executive summary are several pages of trend information specific to the general fund. I'll just mention a couple of the highlights in here. So the assets in the general fund at the end of the year were almost $53 million between cash investments and receivables, and then interfund receivables as well. That was an increase of about $3.4 million from June of 2024. Liabilities declined a little bit in the general fund, about $1.1 million less than they were a year prior. And so as a result of that, fund balance in the general fund increased by about $4.4 million. Most of that increase is added to reserve funds, is included in the restricted fund balance. The assigned fund balance, which includes the amounts that are appropriated for the 25-26 budget, as well as encumbrances. That assigned fund balance declined a little bit, and the unassigned fund balance increased a little, about $200,000, from $6,311,000 to $6,505,000. Revenues in the general fund in total increased about $4.8 million, from $156 million to $160.8 million. That increase is mostly in property taxes, about $4.1 million of increased property tax revenue. State sources in the general fund actually went down a little bit from 38.8 to 38.5 million. Expenditures in the general fund increased about $1.2 million from 155.1 to 156.3. And so again, you had about a almost $4.5 million increase in fund balance in the general fund. The district had capital outlay of $19.8 million during 24-25. And in the last couple of years, over $40 million in capital outlay for project was spent. The special aid fund, which is grant funded, had $9.2 million both in revenues and in expenditures. Pretty much the special aid fund, generally speaking, has zero fund balance because it's all related to grants, so the revenue isn't earned until the expenditures are spent. There is information in the executive summary about the reserve funds, about the restricted funds. I will mention on page 11 of the executive summary is a calculation showing the district's compliance with real property tax law. You're limited to your unassigned fund balance is limited to 4% of next year's budget. And the district is at 3.85, so you're within that limit. And then finally, page 13 of the executive summary shows a condensed budget comparison schedule. In total, the district had revenues that exceeded the final budget by about $6.3 million, which was 4% of the total revenue budget. And on the expenditure side, the district had underspent the final budget by almost $9 million, about 5.3% less than the final budget. And those are the highlights I want to pass along. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Questions?
If you have any questions, Mr. Church. Inside joke. I'm so happy to see you read that.
Todd is hilarious. I have no questions.
Okay. All right.
In so much as there are no questions, we do have a resolution.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't have it on my paper, so it's. Let me just see.
I move,
Okay.
motion to recommend acceptance of the independent audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Well, there's been a little discrepancy in the on printed and
Yeah.
which is throwing me off a couple times tonight.
You're doing great.
So I think we're good then, so.
Well, I have a question now.
Okay, please.
Discussion. Because I just wanted to, I went back up at the, page 3, and I know that in the past when the audit committee reviewed it and everything, that there was some guidance on the extra classroom activities, the clubs, and if a club is dormant for some time.
Right.
So I just wanted to follow up that we follow through that if a club is dormant, what happens to the funds?
Right. In some cases, yes, that was resolved. There are some cases where it's still not resolved. Yep.
And just for the community to know that, we do have community members on our audit committee. And we have 3 community members, and there might be a board member who participates on the audit committee too.
So there are unclaimed $480 club stipends out there. Is that your question?
There are inactive clubs, and what do you do with the funds? From the inactive clubs, if they've been inactive for a couple of years.
Okay. Hidden club reserve fund.
I think Julian has a question.
Yeah, I won't derail, I promise, but I'm just looking at the extracurriculars for LACS, and I'm realizing I don't recognize any of the clubs that are recorded on here. And
Quite a few
there,
of them.
and there are several duplicates for just the same club. reported twice but with different balances, so. I know LSS is very difficult to track and we have no formal clubs, but
Right,
I thought I felt that was good. I thought I should bring that up.
okay, thank you.
So noted. So I think we're ready to call the question, but no. Okay, so we good? So all those, no, we're not, all right.
I just want to ask you, what page are you looking at?
The preliminary draft of the full report, page 8. I mean,
Okay,
there are two, sorry.
so Dom has noted that.
Got it. Back in that close.
You bet.
Okay, then I think we're ready to call the question. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Sean.
Okay, you're welcome.
So, Section 11, other discussion items. You have some upcoming dates. The 21st is facilities and finance, the 28th, we have curriculum work session and a voting session on the 8th. Any other items board members like to add?
Just as a note, for you, Tricia, for the curriculum committee work session, we're gonna change the start time to be 4:45.
Okay,
Should you update the website for that?
yeah, well, that communication.
Okay,
Thanks, Tricia.
thanks so much. If there's nothing else, move to item 12, adjournment. Thank you, everyone.